Don't you just love those bracelets? Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Luisa. I'm so glad you're here today because I'm going to show you how to make those bracelets. Now this video turned out a little bit longer than I like, but I did put some timestamps down in the description so you can jump to the sections that you want to jump to. And I don't want to make this video any longer than it should be, so let's just go ahead and jump right into it. I want to start the tutorial by showing you the bracelet, and this is the one that I made using the beads from the November Bargain Bead Box, for those of you who haven't seen it. So as you can see, I used the 8mm round dolomite beads in the center of each one of these medallions, and then I also used the 6x4 faceted rondelle beads in that cranberry color, and in between each one I used the 3x4, I think it was violet jade shimmer rondelles. I also added these 3mm bicones, and they did not come in the box, so you'll have to find some of your own. And I also used these 11O seed beads in this color. I don't remember what the color is. It's like a cranberry color as well. And these did not come in the box either. Neither did the 50-nose in the back. Okay, so you have to find some 50-nose of your own. And I actually used 10-nose in between each one of these 6x4 rondelles. But you can use 11-nose. I'm going to be using 11-nose today. But anyway, guys, this is the bracelet, and this bead did come in that box, but I'm going to be using something different today just to show you that you know, you have options. So if you don't have any beads left, or you've used all of them up, or you don't subscribe to that box, you can still make this bracelet. Now let's talk about the length. This bracelet is about 7 inches long. Okay, now that's perfect for my wrist size. My wrist is about 6 inches, a little bit less. And each one of these medallion segments is about 1 inch long. Okay, so you're going to have to figure out how many medallions you're going to make. I would say for the average wrist, you would need to make at least 6 of these medallion segments. Okay, and the loop and the toggle add another 1.5 inches. So I would recommend 6 medallions. Okay, and then it depends on what you use for the toggle as well. I'm going to be using a little bit of a different toggle today, so mine might end up being a little different, and I may end up having a different sized loop. Okay, so that's something that you can figure out after you've selected your beads, and when you get to the point where you're going to make your toggle clasp, that's when you can decide whether you need to add another medallion or make this segment longer, whatever you need to do to get the correct length. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and select the beads. Instead of the cranberry rondelles, we're going to use this beautiful off-white color. It's like a creamy color, and it's the same size. And then I am going to be using the dolomite beads because I had some left over, so I'm going to be using those in the middle of each medallion. And I will also use the violet or the pale violet rondelles because I had some of those left over as well. I have a strand of agate, and I was told that it's called confetti agate, but I'm not sure. But as you can see, most of it is green, but I do have a couple of these stones that are not that green. So I'm going to choose one that I think would coordinate with these beads here. I chose this one. This one has a lot of gray tones and some beige and a gold kind of a color. But these dolomite beads have gold, so I think it coordinates okay, and I even see a little bit of purple. This combination looks really nice together, so I'm going to be using this stone for the toggle. You're also going to need some 11O seed beads, and these are Toho 11O seed beads, and they're a metallic bronze color. You're going to need some 15O seed beads as well. These are Miyukis, but you can use Tohos, and these are actually a dark gold color, but they look sort of bronze colored to me. As long as they coordinate, that's all that matters. I'm going to be using this color for the 3mm bicones, and these are Swarovski Elements, Crystal Passions, and I'm not even sure if they sell them anymore because I've had these for a while in my stash. The color is Swarovski Crystal Gold Shadow, it looks like. So yeah, I'm going to be using these because I think it would look really nice with these rondelles. And you're going to need some fire line. This is 6-pound fire line in a smoke color. Okay, I have all my beads ready to go. I have my needle threaded, and by the way, this is a size 11 needle, and we're going to get started. Before we start, I want to remind you about the timestamps down in the description. So for those of you who are new in particular, I have those timestamps there so that you can go back and watch whatever segment you're not clear on, or if you're trying to pace yourself and you want to like pause the video or restart a certain step, you can go back and tap on the timestamps. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is thread on 8 11-0s and 8 of these large rondelles. Okay, so one 11-0 seed bead, one rondelle, another 11-0, another rondelle, and I'm going to keep going until I have a total of 8. And by the way, guys, I am going to fast forward quite a bit through the video because I don't want this video to be super long, so you're going to see me fast forwarding a lot. Okay, so I've threaded on 8 rondelles and 8 11-0 seed beads, as you can see. And now you're going to bring them all down to the tail of your thread, and you're going to leave yourself about a 6-inch tail. Now you're going to pick it up and form a little circle, okay? Like this. And you're going to do a knot, and it's just a regular overhand knot. So here's one, and here's another one. So you're going to do 2 knots, 2 regular overhand knots, and this is what you should have. Okay, now that you have your circle, you're going to take your needle and go through all of the beads 3 times around, and that includes the seed beads. Okay, so go through all of them. Now if you're using thread that is thicker than 6-pound file line, you may not have to go around 3 times. Okay, I'm recommending that because 6-pound file line is not very thick, and so you want the ring to be pretty sturdy, okay? You don't want it to be floppy. So that's why I'm recommending that you go through the beads 3 times. Now when you get to the point where the tail is, you're going to go through it and you're going to move away from that tail. You don't want to be near it, okay? You're going to move away a couple of beads and then come out of a rondelle, just like this. So this is what you should have. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and add the dolomite, which goes in the middle. So for that, you're going to add 2 15-0 seed beads onto your needle, 2 11-0 seed beads, 1 dolomite bead, 2 11-0 seed beads, and then 2 15-0 seed beads. So this is what you should have. Okay, slide them down. You're coming out of this rondelle here. You're going to go directly across to the opposite side, to this rondelle here, the one that's opposite it, okay? And you're going to enter it from, if you're coming out of this side, you're going to enter it from the opposite side. Just like this. Can you see that? Pull. And that should pop the dolomite right in the middle of your component. Okay, just like that. All right, so now we're going to load 2 15-0 seed beads, 1 11-0 seed bead. You're coming out of the bottom of this rondelle. You're going to go through the 11-0 that's right by the hole of the dolomite, through the dolomite, and then out through the 11-0 at the other end. Okay, just like this. And pull. And that anchors it even more. You might want to put your thumb on it when you pull so you don't lose your work. Okay, so now we're going to add one 11-0 seed bead, two 15-0 seed beads, and we're going to enter the rondelle that we started from on this side now. Okay, so you're doing like a kind of a figure 8. Let me just show you once I get it on here. So this is what you want, sort of like a figure 8, okay? And now all we have to do is reinforce. So you're just going to follow the same thread path through all of the beads. Pull it as you go along because you want the proper amount of tension. So now we're back to where we started, and you're going to go through the rondelle just like this. Okay. Now you're going to go up through the first 15-0 that you added, and you're going to load 7 11-0s. Just like this. You're coming out of that 15-0. You're going to go down the 15-0 on the opposite side, the first one, the one that's right by the rondelle. So that when you pull, it pops those beads along the side of this dolomite. Go through the rondelle, not the 15-0 that's not the 11-0 that's beside it, but just the rondelle, just like this. Up the 15-0, the first one that's right here, the first one that you added in this figure 8 shape. And you're going to load 7 11-0s again. Okay. You're coming out of this 15-0 here. You're going to go down the first 15-0, the one that's right by the rondelle. And that pops those 11-0s on this side of the dolomite now. Okay. Go through the rondelle like this. And now you're going to reinforce. So you're going to follow the exact same path. Go through this 15-0 and through the 7 11-0s on the side. Down the 15-0 on this side. Through the rondelle. Up the first 15-0. And through the 7-0s on this side. Down the 15-0, that's right by the rondelle. And through the rondelle. Now we're going to move away, so we're going to go through the rondelle and the 11-0 that's right beside it on this outer ring, through the next 11-0, and it really doesn't matter where you go, just move away, okay, and then come out of a rondelle, just like that. Okay, so this is what you should have. Now we can get rid of this tail because it kind of gets in the way a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a needle onto this tail, so I'll be right back. Okay, I've added a needle onto the tail, and now I'm going to go through a couple of beads because that's where we formed those 2 knots initially. So you want to move away from those 2 knots. Go underneath a thread bridge, okay, and then pull and leave a little loop, go through that loop. So you're doing a half hitch knot, And you can do it again if you want to. I mean, it really isn't necessary to do it too many times. Move away from the knot first and do one more. Pull, move away, and then you can snip it off or burn it off. I like to burn mine off. I use this really nifty fiber fuse thread burner. I've had it for years. I don't even know where I got it. Probably Amazon. And I like using them because it helps you to get really close to the beads. You do have to be careful though. So now that we have the tail gone, and now we can continue. So now we're going to finish the back of this component, okay? Make sure you're coming out of a rondelle, and you're going to load 7 15-0 seed beads. Okay, and now you're going to go through the opposite side of the same rondelle that you're coming out of, just like this. And that will form a loop. Okay, you're going to go through the next 11-0 on this ring and the next rondelle. So you're moving away from that loop, and the loop needs to go towards the center, so you need to fold them over as you go along. So now you're here, and you're going to load 5 15-0s this time. Okay, and now you're going to go through, you're going to enter the loop you just formed. You're going to enter it through the two first 15-0s that you added in this loop. Let me just put the needle through so you can see. You're going to go through those two and pull. Okay, can you see what we just formed? Go through that same rondelle that you just came out of. Through the 11-0 and the following rondelle, just like this. Okay, and once again we're going to load 5 15-0s and go through the 2 from the previous loop. Okay, just like that. Go through the rondelle you just came out of and through the 11-0 that's next to it and on to the following rondelle, so that when you pull, you're ready to go to the next round. So you're going to continue doing that. Add 5 15-0s, go through the 2 from the previous loop, keep going until you get to the one that's next to the last one. Okay, and I'll meet you back. Okay, I'm exiting off the rondelle that's next to the last one. There's my thread. I've loaded 5 15-0 seed beads. I'm going to go down the 2 15-0s from the previous loop, just like this. Going through the same rondelle that I just came out of and the 11-0 next to it. And the following rondelle. So I just have this last one left. Now this one's going to be a little bit different. So this one you're coming out of the rondelle, you're going to go straight up the first 2 15-0s that we added in the very first loop. Okay. Load 3 15-0s. Just like this, and go down the 2 from the last loop, the previous loop we just did. And that's what you should have. Go through the rondelle and the 11-0. And I would continue to travel a little bit just to make sure that you move away from the section you just exited from. Okay, you don't have to go too far, just move away. And you want to come out of a rondelle. So let's go ahead and go through one more, just like this. Go up the 2 15-0s on the side of this loop, and it doesn't matter which loop, and travel to the center bead. So there are 7 in the loop. Okay, you've gone up 2, so you're going to go through 2 more. So you're essentially exiting off the 4th bead in that loop of 7, which is the middle bead. Okay, can you guys see that? Let me bring it up close. You're in the middle of this loop right now. Okay, so now we are going to add some more beads in the middle. Pick up 1 11-0. You're coming out of this middle bead here, the 4th bead. You're going to go to the next loop and go through the same bead, the middle bead, and pull. So this is what it should look like. And you're going to repeat that same step again. Pick up an 11-0, go to the next loop and go through the middle bead of that loop and pull. And you're going to continue to do this until you have a total of 8 11-0 beads added. Just like that. Okay, so I'm going to continue to add my 11-0s and I'll meet you back. I'm going to insert the last one by going through that middle bead. And I'm going to step up through the first 11-0 that I added and pull. So this is what you should have. Okay, and now we're going to go through all of the 11-0s, just the 11-0s, and that'll cinch it up even more. So you're going to want to go through all 8. So this is what you should have. You're coming out of the 11-0, and now you're going to add 1 11-0. You're going to skip through the next one and go through the following one. This time you're going to add 1 15-0, skip through the next 11-0 and go through the following, just like this. Add 1 11-0, skip through the next one and go through the following 11-0. Add 1 15-0, skip through the next 11-0 and go through the first one that you started from. And you're probably wondering why you're doing 11s and 15s, 11s and 15s. Well, that's just what happened with this particular combination of beads. Okay, sometimes I'm able to do all 11-0s and sometimes I have to switch to just all 15-0s. You're going to have to play around because all of these beads are different, and you know the widths are all different. It all depends on your beads. So now that you've added that inner ring, which is a combination of 11s and 15s, and there's a total of 2 11s and 2 15s, you're going to go through all 4 of them. Okay, so here's the first 11-0. The next one's a 15-0. The next one is an 11-0. I hope you can see this. It's a little confusing, I know, but I think you get the idea. And the last one is my 11-0 that I added. And that closes up that gap, as you can see, okay? Had I added just 11 O's or just 15 O's, it wouldn't have closed so nicely, okay? So now you do have to go through all of these that you just added one more time this round, just to make sure it stays in place. So if you're adding your beads and they're not sitting properly, or they're bulking up, or you're seeing too much thread, that's when you have to make the adjustments, okay? And you have to decide whether you want to add just 11 O's or just 15 O's. But as you can see, mine are laying pretty flat and I'm not seeing very much thread at all. So now that I've done that, I'm going to exit off towards the outer ring again. Okay, now let's turn it over because I want you to pay attention to this next step. So my connection is going to come off this bead here. Okay, it's going to come off this one, and the clasp is going to come off this side. So we want to navigate towards this bead here. We don't want to navigate towards where the figure 8 is. Okay, we're going to navigate towards this one here. I hope you can see that. And the way to do that is very simple. You're just going to go up through the beads, whichever ones are the closest. Go towards the outer ring. Okay, and I want to navigate away from this component, or this set of beads here. So I'm going to come out this way and I'm going to go through this rondelle, and the 11-0. And if your needle has difficulty, use pliers. Okay, my beadwork is usually pretty tight, and so I end up having to use pliers to get the thread or the needle through. I think this is the one that I need to come out of. Okay, just like this. Okay, now we're going to add the connection. All right, so that's very easy, and for that you're going to need 2 11-0 seed beads, one of these pale violet or lavender rondelles, the little ones, the 3x4s, and another 2 11-0 seed beads. Okay, you're coming out of this rondelle, you're going to go back through the other side of it, just like this, and that pops that rondelle right beside that the little one, but right beside the larger one. And now we're going to have to reinforce. So you're not going to go through the 11-0s that are right on this ring here. You're going to go through the ones you just added in this loop. So go through those 2 11-0s, the first ones you added, the rondelle, the next 2 11-0s, and back through the rondelle, back up through the 2 11-0s and the little rondelle, the lavender colored rondelle. Okay, so now we've reinforced that, and we're going to continue by adding the next component. Okay, so we're not going to cut the thread or finish it off. We're going to just keep adding components until we run out of thread, and at that point we will have to add some more thread. So for this, you're going to add 2 11-0s, 1 large rondelle, and 2 11-0s. And this large rondelle is one of the beads in the following component, the next component. You're going to go through the little lavender rondelle, just like this, and again you're going to reinforce. So go through the 2 11-0s you just added in this loop, through the large rondelle, the next 2 11-0s, back through the rondelle, the little one, and back up so that you're exiting from the large rondelle. And I'm calling it large, but it's really not. It's only a 6x4. So that's what you should have. There's the back, there's the front. Okay. So this is the first rondelle out of the 8. So now we need to add 7 more with seed beads in between. So the next one's going to be an 11-0 seed bead, a rondelle, an 11-0, a rondelle, and we're going to continue until we have a total of 7 on the needle, 7 rondelles, and 8 11-0 seed beads. Okay, so here we go. 7 rondelles, 8 11-0 seed beads, and you're going to go through that first rondelle. So now you have another component, the beginning of another component. You're going to go through all the beads again to reinforce, and just like you did with the first one, you're going to go through the whole ring 3 times. Once you've gone through the whole ring 3 times, you want to make sure you're away from this connecting point, okay? And you're exiting out of one of these large rondelles. Now take a look at your pattern, because you need to make sure that you place that dolomite across the proper beads, okay? So as you can see, it's anchored on this one and this one. So you're going to do the same thing on this component. You're going to anchor it on this bead and that bead. So you want to exit out of that rondelle, okay? And once again, you're going to load 2 15-0 seed beads, 2 11-0 seed beads, 1 dolomite, 2 11-0 seed beads, and 2 15-0 seed beads, just like you did in the first component. You're coming out of this rondelle, you're going to go across to the opposite side and go through this side of that rondelle. Okay, and you're going to continue to do the same exact thing that you did for this component. Okay, so like I said, I will leave the timestamp down below so that you can go back, and it's the same exact pattern, and I don't want to repeat it here because it'll just make the video extremely long. Okay, so just look for the timestamp that says the beginning of the component or something to that extent. Okay, all right, so I'm going to finish mine and I'll meet you back. So go ahead and do your figure 8, add your side 11-0s, the ones on the side here, and come out of one of the rondelles, and I'll meet you back. Okay, I'm back, and I've added my dolomite and all the 11-0s around it, the figure 8 as well. I've reinforced them. Don't forget to reinforce. And I'm exiting off this rondelle here, and it doesn't matter which rondelle you exit from, just move away from the connecting point. Okay, that's what I usually do because it just gets in the way. And so now just turn your work over and you're ready to finish the back. And just like before, it's the exact same process. Okay, so you start with 7 15-0s. You're coming out of this rondelle, you're going to go back through it from the opposite end, go through the 11-0 that's next to it, okay, and that forms your loop. Flip it over so that it's pointing towards the center, okay, and then go through the next rondelle, just the rondelle. Just like this, okay? And now this is where you add your 5 15-0s and go through the 2 first 15-0s you added in this round, okay? You're going to continue. Just go ahead and tap on the timestamp that shows you how to finish the back, and that's pretty much it, guys. Just keep adding components. I will put a timestamp for the connecting point as well, okay, so you can go back to that. And like I said in the beginning of the video, you're going to complete as many as you think will fit your wrist. I'm recommending 6, but ultimately it's going to be up to you how many you think you need. Okay, so go ahead and do your 6 medallions, and you're going to end by coming out of a rondelle, and we'll continue. Before I go any further, I do want to show you how to add thread, okay? Show you how to tie off your thread and add new thread. So what I recommend, guys, is that you do it before you run out completely. Add thread when you get to this point here, okay? And the reason is that you can actually weave in and out of these beads and pretty much hide your thread and tie it off by going underneath one of these thread bridges, okay? So just, I don't know if you can see that. I've captured a thread bridge right there. I'm going underneath it. Pull, and then before you pull it all the way through, take your needle and go through the loop, and that creates like a half hitch knot, okay? And then what you can do is to move away from that half hitch knot and actually pull that knot into the adjacent bead just by giving it a little tug like this, okay? So you can do that a couple of times. Just weave around and get away from the knot once you do it, okay? Weave around, find another spot, capture the thread bridge underneath, okay? Like this. Pull it through until you get a little loop, and then go through the loop with your needle. Pull, and then move away from the knot and just go somewhere else. It really doesn't matter where you go, just move away, okay? Once you've moved away, you can then snip your thread off or burn it off. Okay, so now you're ready to add some more thread. So I'm going to go ahead and load up a needle, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I've added more thread to my needle, and you know, there are so many different ways to tie off thread and add thread. I'm sure you've seen so many different ways. There's even a method where you do a little knot and pass it through the beads, but since we're using 15-0 beads, that's not a really good idea because that knot's going to get stuck somewhere. So the best way to do it is just like I showed you earlier, just weave through and do a half hitch knot in the back. Now to add thread, I'm going to do a little bit different. So I know I'm going to need to come out of this bead here to add my connecting point, just like I've done with all the other ones. So I'm going to enter the component through this rondelle here on the side, and I'm going to go out through the seed bead, okay, and pull your thread through. You do want to leave a tail, okay? You want to leave a tail because you're going to use that tail later on to do a few more knots to secure it, okay? But initially you want to pull it through, leave a tail, and then go ahead and grab another thread bridge, okay, wherever you can, whatever's closest. Pull it through just like you did before, leaving a little loop, okay, and do another half hitch knot, okay? And I'm just going to do that one right now because I'm going to use the tail later on to do a few more knots and tie it off, cut it and snip it off. So now I'm going to continue just like I normally would towards the bead or the rondelle where I'm going to add my connecting segment, okay? And again, I'm leaving the timestamps in the description so you can go and tap on them. And it looks like I only have one more left to do, so I'm going to complete one more and I'll meet you at the end. So just go ahead and do the connection, the final component, and come out of a rondelle just like I am here, okay? And I will meet you back. Okay, I've completed my 6 components, as you can see, and I absolutely love this color combination. It's so beautiful. There's the back. I still have this tail, so we're going to get rid of that tail next. We're going to be adding some crystals where the connecting points are, and that's going to shorten it a little bit, but not too much. But at this point, you'll get some idea of how it fits, okay? And like I said, it all depends on what type of bead you use for the clasp, okay? So that's going to make a difference. But before we add the clasp, we're going to go ahead and take care of this tail, all right? And it's the same steps that we used before when we were tying off the previous thread. Okay, so you're going to attach a needle, pick up your work, and move away from where that tail was, okay, because that's where the knot was, or that's where we attached it. And now go ahead and go underneath the thread bridge, do a little loop just like before, like this, pull your needle through and do a half hitch knot, move away from that area. And now I think I'm going to just go ahead and go into this portion, the back. Okay, and once again I'm going to grab a little thread bridge wherever I can, just like this, and pull my needle through the loop and pull to do a half hitch knot, and then move away from that area. Okay, and then you can weave around wherever you want to, because the more you weave around, the more secure that tail will be, and it won't come undone. So I think that's good enough. I'm not a big fan of doing a million knots. I see some people doing millions of knots, and I'm really not a fan. I think if you do 3, that's sufficient. And then just get rid of it, snip it off or burn it off. And that's basically it, okay? All right, so now that we've gotten rid of that tail, we can continue, and we're going to add the clasp. So you want to come out of this bead right here, okay? So if you'll see the components, you'll see that the connection is here. So you want to come out of this rondelle right here, okay? Okay, and now I'm going to add 2 11/0s, just like you did before when you were doing the connections. 1 of the small 3x4 rondelles, 2 11/0 seed beads. Okay, go back through that same rondelle, so you're going to go in from the opposite side of where the thread is. Okay, now we're going to reinforce, so we're going to go through all the beads again. It's just like doing a connection, but you're only doing half of it, okay? Now you're going to add a total of 5 11/0 seed beads and 2 15/0 seed beads. Now this may be different for you depending on your bead, okay, but we're going to try it out and see if it's going to work for the bead that I selected, okay, which is this one right here. And you're going to go through the end just like this. Pull the thread through, position your bead right on top of that little rondelle to see how it fits, okay, and that looks like it's okay. You want to make sure that it sits right in the middle. Okay, I think it does. So we're going to go ahead and repeat the same sequence but in the reverse. So 2 15/0s and 5 11/0s. All right, and now we're going to go through the little rondelle again. Now if this doesn't work out, guys, don't panic, okay? You can just go back and undo it and add some more beads or subtract beads, okay? That's going to be something that you're going to have to figure out. All right, so now what we're going to do is reinforce. So we're going to go through all the beads again. But again, if yours is different, just add more beads or subtract more beads, okay? It all depends on which one you decide to use. When I did this red one, I did the same thing. I did 5 11/0s and 2 15/0s. But it's a barrel bead, okay? So it worked out okay this way. This one's a rectangular flat bead, so it's going to be a little bit different. I'm showing you this so that you know that you have options, okay, and you're not stuck with a certain kind of bead or feel like you have to use a certain kind of bead. So just go through all the beads again to reinforce. Go through the main bead here and back down through all the seed beads. And I'm going to reinforce again, okay, because I want this part to be nice and strong, since it's going to get a lot of use, a lot of wear and tear. Okay, so now when you get to the end of the bead like this, now you're going to add a rondelle at the end, and it's going to be one of the larger ones, okay. You're also going to add an 11-0. Bring it down, and you're going to go through the rondelle and back through the large bead, okay, just like this. And that locks that rondelle on the end. Same thing on this side. Pick up a rondelle, a large rondelle, and an 11-0 seed bead. Bring it down, slide it down your thread, and go through just the rondelle, and then go through the stone, and then go out the other end through the rondelle, okay, and pull. Go through the 11-0, because now I'm going to reinforce these 2 beads that I just added, or 4 beads actually if you count the seed beads. Go back through the rondelle and through the stone and through the rondelle at the other end. Okay. And pull. Go through the seed bead and do it again, because you want them to be nice and secure, okay, just like this. I'm going through the rondelles only and the big bead, and now through the seed bead, back down through the rondelle. So I do this quite a few times. I do this, I would say 4 times, because I want it to be nice and sturdy. Okay, so now we're going to go through the seed bead again, through the rondelle and out through the side, okay? We're exiting out. All right, can you see that? Now I'm going to go down these seed beads. And through the little rondelle. Turn your work around so that it's comfortable. And now you're going to go through the 2 11-0s on the side here. Through the 11-0 on the ring. I call this the ring. And I'm going to make my way all the way around this ring till I get to the connection. Okay, so I'm coming out of the seed bead that's right beside this rondelle here. Okay. I'm going to travel down the 2 11-0s. And here's where I'm going to add the bicone. Okay, so take one of your 3mm crystal bicones and go through to the other 2 11-0 seed beads. And that should pop that bicone in that little space there. Okay? Go through this 11-0 on the side, on the ring, right there. And you're going to make your way around this component through the seed beads and the rondelles like this. And down the 2 11-ohs right by the little rondelle. And when you get to the connection, grab another bicone and go down the other 2 11-ohs. Pop that crystal into place and go through the 11-ohs and the rondelles on the side of this component. Okay, I'm going to do that all the way down till I get to this component here. I want you to go ahead and travel through and come out of this bead here. Okay, and I'll meet you back. Okay, I'm back and I've added the crystals, as you can see, and it's looking absolutely gorgeous. Oh my gosh, I love this bracelet. It's so beautiful. Alright, so I'm exiting out of this rondelle here. That's where we're going to attach the loop, and this part's really easy, okay? You're going to start by adding 2 11-oh seed beads, one of the small crystals, just like you did before with the connections, and another 2 11-oh seed beads. And you're going to come through that large rondelle from the opposite side of the thread, just like you did when you were doing the connections. Okay, and now reinforce, so you're going to go through the whole thing one more time and then exit off that little rondelle. Alright, and now we're going to add 28 11-oh seed beads. Here's my 28. Now it's going to depend on your bead, okay? I'm saying 28 for my bead over here. Okay, but yours may be different. Yours may be a little bit smaller or a little bit larger. So you're going to have to experiment, and I would just recommend to just go ahead and do it. Loop it through and then sew it through. And before you reinforce, you might want to give it a test to make sure that it fits. But you need to make sure you hold on to that loop nice and tight, okay? And just test it out and see if it fits. You want to make sure that it fits, and it's not a struggle to put it on and off. Okay, so this one looks okay. So now I'm going to reinforce this ring, and I'm going to do it at least 3 times, probably 4 times, because like I said, you know, this is the part that gets a lot of wear and tear, and so you want to make sure that it's nice and strong. So, you know, it depends on your thread. If you're not using 6 pound, if you're using something heavier than 6 pound, obviously you're not going to be able to go through all the beads so many times. Alright, so now I'm back at the beginning. Alright, so what I want to do now is I want to position myself so that I can go down this side of the bracelet. Let me turn it around. I want to position myself so I can go down this side of the bracelet to add the crystals on the other side now, okay? I'm going to go through the rondelle. I'm going to go down these 2 11-ohs that I added before I did the loop. I'm going to go through this light colored rondelle on the ring, okay? And this puts me on the correct side of the bracelet because I want to travel down this side now, okay? So I'm going to go through the seed beads, the rondelles, and the seed beads on the outer ring of each component, just like you did before, okay? And then add your crystal in the gaps. And continue traveling through each side of each of these medallions. All right, so I'm going to continue going all the way down, and go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you when you get to the very last one. Okay, you're going to add your last crystal. You're going to go through the seed bead and out of one of these rondelles, and I'll meet you back. Okay, I'm back, and I'm at this end of the bracelet now, as you can see, coming out of a rondelle. And now that this is done, it's pretty much finished, guys. And look how beautiful. Tell me that's not gorgeous. That is so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love this bracelet. Okay, so now you're going to finish it off just like I showed you before. Okay, and you might want to turn it over and just weave around through some of these beads, catch a thread, do a half hitch knot, do it a couple of times and move away from the knot, and then snip off your thread or burn it off, and I'll meet you back. Alright, so now that you've completed your bracelet, the only thing you need to do is add a charm. And in the red one, I actually had this big charm and I liked it. It's that triple tier tassel, and I really like that with this look. So we're going to do a similar thing, and I'm going to take this earring. This is a pair of earrings that I had, and I'm going to disassemble it. Okay, so I'm going to take this beaded portion off, and I'm actually going to snip it off because I want to save these beads. And I'm going to place them on this head pin. Okay, like this. Do a wrap loop. So you just grab the component like this, bend your head pin, flip your pliers around, grab them like this, wrap it around the top nose of the plier, flip your pliers around, continue to wrap around towards the back like this. Okay, and now you're going to take it off your pliers and grab that loop with a different kind of plier, and then do a couple of wraps. Snip off the excess. Tuck in the little sharp end, and I'm going to attach both of these onto my bracelet with a jump ring. So let me go get a jump ring. This one's about 5 millimeters. I'm going to thread both pieces onto the jump ring like this, and then I'm just going to hook it onto the end of the loop and close it up. Make sure that it's closed really well, guys, okay, because you don't want any of that thread going through the opening of the jump ring. It shouldn't, because it's pretty tight, and I don't see that happening. And that's pretty much it. That's it, guys. Look how gorgeous that is. That is so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Now, if you're a beginner, you're going to run into some issues, okay? For instance, I told you to put 7 11-0 seed beads here, but you may need less than that, okay? It depends on how big your rondelles are. So you're going to have to play around with that. Same thing with the back, okay? Figure out exactly what you need to add back here, whether you need to add 11-0s, 15-0s, or a combination of the two like I did. And the other factor is your tension, the tension of your thread, okay? So that can affect the finished product, okay? So you need to take that into account. But I just love this one. Oh my gosh, this is so pretty. Look at this. That looks so gorgeous. And it looks beautiful on. So there are things you can do to control the length, okay? You can choose smaller beads in the connecting points, okay? You don't have to have 3x4s. You can have something smaller. And unfortunately, sometimes, you know, you're just going to have to play around, and you may not get it right the first time. And so you'll have to either redo it. I know I've had to do that many times through my lifetime, okay? or not my lifetime, but my career, my jewelry career. I've had to redo, undo, redo. It's part of the business, okay? It's the nature of the beast. So, and that's how you learn. Okay, guys, well, I'm going to go ahead and put this away, and I'll come back and say goodbye. I can't decide which one I like the best. It's going to be very difficult for me to part with these beautiful bracelets. All right, everybody, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Go out and make your own bracelets. They're a little bit challenging, but I know you can do it. You just need a little bit of patience. We still have some time. We still have a few days left before Christmas, and hopefully I can make another video before the end of the year. But if I don't see you, have a wonderful holiday season. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye.